Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. This is a Training Friday edition of The Bullet. Joining me today, as he does every Training Friday, Tom Walls of the Firearms Academy of Seattle. Tom is their senior trainer there. Tom, thanks for coming along today, man.
You are welcome, as always, but I got to tell you, man, I'm a little nervous. I need to calm down.
Well, I can tell you're nervous. It's sprouted a halo around you. I mean, that's...
I know, this light up here, I think it's divine confirmation of my ego. But it's more likely this strange weather condition we have today in the Pacific Northwest. It's that somebody took the rain away, and it's a little disconcerting, and there's this ball in the sky that's bright and is exuding warmth, and I don't know what it is. I've had people tell me it's normal, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
which also means that the skylight up there hasn't got the
you're central western Washington. You're not central western California. So, of course, even though those folks are getting rainstorm after rainstorm after rainstorm this year.
Amateurs. Well, I hear that they certainly need it.
Well, I think they've had enough now. But anyway,
I suspect.
Let's get started. As if you're watching us on the Polite Society Facebook, YouTube, or Facebook channels, go ahead and comment on those videos. We'll get your comments in, get them up, and discuss them on the air. If you're catching us anywhere else, on Getter, on Rumble, on OpsLens, anywhere else that picks us up, go ahead and go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. Tom, today we were going to be talking about ammo, and we talked about this a little bit through messaging a few days ago, and I was thinking on my way back today we were going to be talking a little bit about reloads, and it's well known for people that have trained in the gun community, what's known as the New York reload being the best of all possible reloads. In other words, having a backup gun on you. That's always the best reload and the fastest reload. My first question I've got about is, how did something good get the name of New York stuck behind it? Because New York is not good for guns or gun rights.
That is the first thing that comes to mind. Of course, we do need to remember that New York City is only part of New York State. But unfortunately, like my home state of Washington, Seattle tends to run the politics. The New York reload, to the best of my knowledge, came from Jim Cirillo back in the day when they had nothing but revolvers for law enforcement. And the quickest way to get 6 more was to grab gun number 2. So a lot of those guys became very proficient at grabbing gun number 2 and shooting it left-handed with one hand. So if anybody knows better, please let us know. I always love hearing from the folks that listen, because we're all gun folks, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of cool stuff. But when it comes to ammo, Rudyard Kipling had a wonderful quotation that I'd like to mention in concealed carry classes. That is, a man can never have too many books, too much red wine, or too much ammunition. There are folks on the internet that will say, well, if you can't hit him with 6 shots,
what if there's 7 of them?
Well, yeah, and the very first podcast I did with you, we're coming up on a year now.
I seen on Facebook Memories, it was a year ago today, you said it was going to be tomorrow was your first day.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that soon. Happy birthday to us. But anyway, I remember very well the first podcast was an article put together by Greg Ellifritz about effectiveness of ammunition. And I quote that article to this day in class as to, well, if you can't hit them with 6, how many do you need? All those arguments we hear, especially from people that know absolutely nothing about guns or have one but don't know anything about self-defense situations. The average for law enforcement is about 1 hit out of every 3 rounds. And the minimum pretty much for any caliber, and this is an average, so there's more and less, but if you're going to play the odds, 2 to 3 hits to stop somebody. And that's not necessarily an instantaneous stop.
Right.
So not all shots are hits. Not all hits are stops. and not all stops are instantaneous. So you may have quite literally blown the heart out of somebody's chest, or if you're shooting a 9mm, the lung out of their chest, and they may be oxygenated enough for purposeful action to be able to kill you back. So it's a Pyrrhic victory. I killed him first. So if you're thinking 1 out of 3, and at least 2 rounds, there's 6 rounds right there, statistically, to stop one person. And as we know, 40 to 45%, depending on who you look at, of bad guys tend to come in groups.
Yes.
Okay? And this is not only two-legged bad guys, but where I live, occasionally we have the four-legged types. You know, we don't have too many feral dogs. We do have coyotes, but they tend to leave people alone, except when they're rabid. We have had cougar sightings, have a couple a year. I've seen bear scat just out behind the house, so I never know.
Yeah.
So I want too many books and too much red wine, and I definitely want too much ammunition. So first thing you got to have is ammo to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me branch off of this real fast if I could.
Branch away.
As I look to my left, I'm looking at a very large pile, and I'll show you off air my large pile of ammo. It's boxed, and some of it's in mags, but I look off to my left, I see a large pile of ammo. Some of the ammo for a rifle I bought that was a pre-1968 rifle, I'm pretty sure was made before the rifle was. How old, if you're like a lot of our listeners, if you're stockpiling ammo, how old is too old to rely on for practice? How old is too old for ammo that you're trusting your life with? That is your defensive ammo.
Okay. I have shot old military ammo out of a nice rifle, and it ignited. Our military was shooting World War II ammo during Korea, so there's a good almost 10 years right there. Inspect the ammo physically. Make sure it is not corroded, bent, damaged, dented, or whatever. If it looks pristine and it's been stored under good conditions. Ideal conditions would be room temperature without a lot of temperature extremes, and dry, of course, and no hydrocarbons. Don't soak it in gasoline or WD-40, which will kill a primer. Although most military ammunition is lacquer sealed to keep the primers dry. If it appears to be in good condition, I wouldn't feel badly about shooting it for practice. I haven't shot really, really old ammo myself, although I remember my grandfather having stuff that had green, greasy verdigris on it that when I inherited it, it got disposed of. But I would shoot it for practice. If the primers have degraded a bit, you might not get the same ignition of the powder. And if the powder has degraded a little bit, it doesn't get more dangerous, but it tends to be more, what's the word I'm looking for, more variability in the pressures and then the velocities, and with that inconsistency in velocity, you'll get inconsistency in accuracy. Wonderful stuff for practice. But for carry ammo, factory fresh. I don't like to use hand loads because I want to be able to, if I need to, go back and actually have the lot number so the manufacturer can send my attorney exemplar stuff. And I change it out about every year unless I have a reason to change it out sooner. So yeah, go blow that stuff up.
Yeah, use it. I have not, because it's number one, it's 20 rounds of the ammo that I got with the rifle, and I thought, this is just cool to have around. So yeah, that's why I haven't shot that very old ammo.
Another reason for that is you might get some decent once-fired brass out of it.
Yes. Let's get a couple comments in here. Roderick Converse over on Facebook side said, I've had 20-year-old Remington 243 loaded ammo that was cracking at the neck.
Didn't pass that visual inspection, did it? Yeah. Even if you know how it's stored, just check it. Always. I'm glad you caught that.
Michael says, I shot 30-year-old 22 long rifle ammo, had to double tap most of them, though, for plinking and target only.
Yep.
And then Brooke, going back to my large stockpile of ammo, she says, large is relative. So.
Hi, Brooke.
All right, let's. So I want to historically, I want to step back a little bit. Today, almost everybody that carries a semi-automatic for their defensive purposes. There are a lot of people that own revolvers, but most, when it comes to relying on something to save your life, they'll go to the common standard, which is honestly a striker fired semi-auto. However, there are a select few that do still carry revolvers around. How does somebody effectively and quickly get that empty gun back into a usable condition?
Funny you should ask. I have props. First, though, let me explain, just for any YouTubers out there that are trolling us that want to say we're unsafe. I have several real guns out here. None of them are loaded, and we'll check them. And there is no combination of magazine and ammo anywhere on the floor of this house that will fire, except it's on my hip and in a holster, which it will stay there. So, revolvers. Revolver, I'll let you all see the cylinder. It is empty. And we can take, oh my gosh, where's my props? And we can load this. I'm using dummy rounds, and this is going to be an awkward angle because this video setup that we have here for SAF is not the ideal for instruction, but you can do the old drop one round in there at a time thing.
Yeah, while the bad guys are still coming.
Yeah. Okay, and then I have to unload it. Again, that's a whole instructional thing. I use the universal reload. Now I've got an empty gun. What am I going to do? Well, traditionally, and this actually was a gift from one of my mentors, Nick Bolton, who lives in Vancouver, BC, was his old duty pouch for his speed loaders. Most of us have speed loaders. Okay, they are of a diameter that fits certain guns, so this fits my Ruger GP100, and coincidentally fits one of my wife's Smith & Wesson, so we're compatible. And the release for these rounds is usually a knob. This one, let's see, that's Safariland. So I would take my blaster. I'm holding it awkwardly again. Okay, this one I just push and I let the speed loader fall. Some you twist, some are spring loaded, some shoot in there, but that's the gist of it. Okay, roll the cylinder and then I'm good to go. Okay, what if I only shot a couple of rounds? Well, funny you should ask. I became rather fond of these when I took a revolver class at Gunsight Academy, and this little pouch fits on the belt and is a lot less bulky than the speed loader pouch. Okay, and when I hit the snaps, it falls into my hand, and this is a rubber strip. This is called a Bianchi speed strip, and I can take the strip. Okay, so what if I've got 2 rounds I need to replace? So I've got the traditional proverbial lull in the fight. Okay, I'm behind cover. I'm fairly safe. Maybe my partner's holding a door, covering the door. I can take the speed strips and I can load up to 2 at a time, and I can top off my gun rather than dump out any live rounds that I have left in the revolver, because we're limited to traditionally 6, 5 if you've got a J-frame. I just gave a friend of mine for her birthday some speed strips for her J-frame, and a link to Miss Audub's very excellent video on that. And I can top off if I need to do that. I've got to conserve ammo. I don't know when I'm going to reload. I don't know how many bad guys or coyotes are there going to be. And like Kipling said, you never have too many books, too much red wine, or too much ammunition. That's the short form. So the speed strips, they're really fairly inexpensive. They're easy to load back up. The rims fit in here. Traditionally, they're straight. You can get them that'll just hold 5. Some people like to have that extra space here, so they maybe have 5 for sure rather than 6. I came across one years ago that was actually curved. and I never got real good at this one. I think I may have these even loaded backwards, but with the curve, you can maybe do 3 at a time instead of 2. But with a revolver, I think you're really foolish not to carry the extra ammo. So with a speed strip with a speed loader, I doubled my ammo capacity. I would recommend carrying it in some type of a carrier, so it's not loose in your pocket, gets mixed up with the chapstick and the quarters and the dimes and all the other detritus we tend to have in our pockets. That's the short form.
Let me get some comments in here, and then I want to take a left turn again. But Michael on the Facebook side says he carries a semi-auto because of capacity, and 500 Magnum says the classics are always my favorite. Leonard on the YouTube side says most of the time I carry a Smith 686 2-inch or a Kimber K6S, but my pocket is a shell wallet that holds another 20 rounds.
There you go. Something else to consider, the difference between semi-autos and revolvers. We tend to think just, bad guy, two-legged. If you go hunting with it, or the classic example I think of is you're up in Alaska, you're doing some fishing, which is big bear country.
Yep.
Revolvers have the ability to shoot a much larger, more powerful cartridge than semi-autos do traditionally. So there's that to consider too. But yeah, just carrying it with the 6, I am always amazed when I see the clip of the anti-gunner arguing, but why would you need to buy more bullets than your gun can hold? Or they don't know the difference between a clip and a magazine. I brought this out, damn it, I'm going to show it. If there's anybody in the world left that doesn't know the difference between a magazine and a clip, this is a clip that clips the rim of the cartridge. These are 223 rounds, and are forced into a magazine, which is a box-like device. Okay,
yep.
You can see these each. One's rifle, one's, there we go, the orange follower here.
Yep.
They have a spring inside. They have a base plate so they can be cleaned, and they do need to be disposed of because they do wear out. Would it be worth mentioning?
You can rebuild handgun magazines and rifle magazines. You can,
and I actually have a tool for that. This tool's been around for a while. It's a fairly classic one. You can use a modern one, but I use this because it belonged to my grandfather. Well, here, let's get into this now. I am going to take this stripped down Glock 19, so it's not fireable at all. And the Glock 19 magazine, you can see the orange follower back there. There's a little, where is it? There's a little step right here in this follower that pushes up on the, I'm going to move it so you can see it, just look for the motion right here. The slide catch. So this is the slide release button. Some people call it, more technically it's a slide lock because that's its main purpose, is to lock the slide. So if you take, let's see, nope, I didn't put any in there. Give me a minute, we have prop dysfunction because I don't want to put a live round in it. Well, I thought I had some 9mm rounds. Okay, so we're traditionally inserting it straight line, finger, knuckles, wrist, elbow. Some people will point it up in the air. I like to point it at the bad guy for intimidation. Fastest way I know of that's reliable is just to roll my hand over and lock it, and you can see that the follower is right here, and it pushes the round up at a bit of an angle.
Yep.
Okay, that angle is controlled by the sheet metal edges here. They're called the feed lips. They're typically metal, or in this case with the Glock, they're polymer, but they're reinforced with metal. And that's the problem most of the time when a magazine fails. Those lips have gotten bent, or they've been poorly heat treated on manufacture and they crack, or something. Most of the time that's what that is. They are very, very different.
I've had one that failed when I was in. This is going to take a little bit of explanation. I've always trained with the cheapest ammo I could get, because I figure if I get an ammo failure during training, it'll give me a chance to practice my emergency clearing and emergency reload. So I've always,
some people will. Go, I'm sorry.
I've always trained with the cheapest stuff I can get a hold of. Didn't really care about the quality. As long as most of them went bang, it was good enough for me. I'm in a training class, and this particular training class was, we loaded our mags fully. The second round of my 13-round magazine fails. First thing you do, drop the mag, rack, reload. I dropped a mag that was almost full, and guess where that thing landed? Right on the feed lips. You got it.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So I've got my 9mm dummy round. So you can see that puts the round at a certain angle, and the engineers have designed this. If you want to try to salvage your magazine, or if they've just gotten dirty, they've gotten in mud puddles or snow or whatever, take the base plate off, read your manual, take the spring out, notice the orientation of the spring. There is a backwards and a forwards. Take out the follower. I use a degreaser, wipe them down. You can lightly lubricate if you have a mind to, very lightly with a dry lube so it doesn't attract dirt. Now, if it's a bad magazine and you're trying to salvage it, this is what I recommend. You've got two options. Give it to somebody you don't like. Or competitors will do this. Some people say mark it and put it in your practice rotation. I don't like bad kit in my house. I've sent stuff back or trashed it, even if it was expensive. That way there's no chance I get it mixed up. But the other way to do it is, while it's disassembled and cleaned, reassemble it. Place it on a firm surface. This is my grandfather's adjusting tool. Pound the crap out of it until your arm doesn't move anymore, and then that magazine will never bother you again. Magazines are disposable and they're expendable, and if it's life-saving equipment, or we get the chairs against the wall, we hit the fan, we have Armageddon, I don't want to grab a bunch of magazines under stress and have the chance of having a bad one there. So I don't keep bad in the house. It's just not worth it.
Let's move on to a couple comments, and then I want to change directions here.
I was kind of hoping we'd get comments on that one.
Michael on the Facebook side says,
not for sale.
Semi-auto handguns are becoming very popular for hunting. I remember when only wheel guns were used. Well, and you want, if you're going out hunting, you want a little bit of oomph behind the cartridge.
My bonus daughter, Kat Stevens, down in Texas, writes for a number of magazines as one of their hunting editors, and she regularly hunts with a 10mm. I believe it's a Glock, but 10mm semi-automatic. In my state, I would not feel undergunned with a hot 357 loaded a revolver, or a 10mm in anywhere for hunting the deer that we have here. I think it's wonderful. Think about it; it's about the same weight as a human being.
Yes,
that's a horrible thing to say, but that's the reality of it.
Well, and we all remember, and I got to get my thumb in the right place here, that Masada Yub was hunting from a helicopter when the helicopter went down. And he was hunting with a revolver, and this has not been all that many years ago. It's been probably 9 years ago.
I think you mentioned it was just 10 years ago. So we're really glad Mass survived it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A couple more comments here as we get, and we're coming down to, we've only got about 5 minutes left, although I can't extend out a few more than that. But Brooke says, I show all my students the difference between the clip and the magazine so they can be smarter than a newscaster. Good job on that, yes.
That's a low bar, Brooke, but I'm glad you're doing it. We fall into jargon as instructors, and it's nice just to say, this is not a magazine. And this is not a clip. So then we don't feel badly when we laugh at them.
Michael says some magazines are too expensive to scrap. I only am going to put this there. If you're using it to defend your life, how much is your life worth? I
have to agree. You know, you can try new springs and maybe a new follower. I have had one brand of gun that otherwise I'm quite happy with that had bad followers. And by contacting the manufacturer, they said, let us send you 3 or 4 of the new ones and things fixed. But if it's not reliable, you need to make that decision where your priorities are. And, you know, I support you whatever you do. I might not agree with you.
Yeah. They may not follow example, but...
Let's put it this way. My favorite carry gun magazines that I can no longer legally purchase because of my state laws, I'm grandfathered in for the large supply that I have, still retail about $65 a piece. So I feel your pain, man.
As long as we're talking, we moved a little bit into semi-autos. One question I get a lot from new shooters, or I did when I was still doing the introduction to shooting classes. One question I get a lot is if I'm going to carry a spare magazine, and by then they'd gotten to the point where there was definitely a difference between a clip and a magazine. If I'm going to carry a spare magazine, can I carry it in my left front pocket? Because those magazine holders, that's an expense, and I'm just getting into this. Can I carry it in my back pocket? Can I, you know?
If it's a difference between carrying one and not, yeah, but there's all kinds of options. I would make that my next budget thing. I carry my gun on my right side, my magazine pouch. As we speak, I've got my hand on my spare magazine on the left. I dress accordingly for it. But if you don't like that, I'm going to share a secret. What is this? This is a genuine Leatherman case. That is not a genuine Leatherman.
There you go.
That is my backup magazine if I carry a SIG 365 Deep or as a backup gun. I've got it. I don't have to worry about what it looks like. I already owned it. The cheap little ballistic nylon things will do. I prefer snaps because Velcro comes undone. You can use this device. It's called a Snag Mag, SNAG-MAG, and it fits your magazine like this. It's very, very minimal, but it fits in the pocket. Here, I'll stand up high. Thusly,
yep,
you can see it. No, maybe not. Here, it fits in a pocket, and all you see is that, and it looks exactly like what? It looks like a knife. Sure. So you're hiding it in plain sight. They're not very expensive. I think you can even buy them on Amazon. They were invented by an FBI agent. I had the chance to meet him once. Nice guy. So there are ways to do that. Double magazine pouches are great to have for classes. I carry a single one sometimes. This is a snap on the belt, and they last forever. This one's probably 15 or 20 years old, that I can carry a flashlight and a spare magazine in. Another thing with magazines, whenever I can, I get a different color magazine for my carry mags, so my dark ones are always my carry mags. Once they've been proven, I don't drop them and bend the feet lips. And I have my practice ones, and I make them look different. Got numbers on them, so if it's always magazine 4 that's puking, magazine 4 meets school.
There you go. Got another comment here. This one just kind of tongue-in-cheek, I'm fairly certain. What about the AK-47 banana clip?
Well, if you have a lot of bananas and you need a way to carry them, go for it. Duct tape those suckers together.
That reminds me, I have a friend, Yehuda Reamer, and he got this just before AmCon and GRPC in September last year. He goes to a lot of places. He's a traditional Jew, and he observes the Sabbath, which means there's certain times you can only eat this type of food here, and quite often the food where there's lunch being served isn't okay for him to eat. So he had a custom holster maker make him a holster for his bagel.
I like it.
Yeah, and
that's style. That's style.
Honestly, most holster manufacturers have custom holsters for Glock mags, for M&P mags, for this, for that, where your magazines fit in there very nicely. They're almost always less than $100, and you don't get the dirt and the grime that's in your pockets into your magazines.
That really does happen. My wife, God bless her, does not do the maintenance on her pocket gun that I do on my pocket gun. So, as an act of love for my wife, I'll just say, "Hey, honey, get your other gun. Give me your pocket gun for a while. I'm gonna check it out." Mm-hmm. It also holder also keeps the magazine in the right orientation, and we like to get the magazine out of the pouch, reaching back with the forefinger, so it just naturally inserts into the gun.
Sure.
You don't know what the orientation of that thing is going to be in your pocket. So it slows things down. It's a fumble. It's part of your brain that's got to sort out this annoying problem while you really need to reload your gun.
Yep.
I like to simplify stuff. And again, if you're carrying legally concealed, your wardrobe will lend itself to things if you think it through with your wardrobe. I, unfortunately, no longer have to wear business casual. I've got the option of putting stuff on my belt and covering it with my favorite cover stuff.
Absolutely. And for cover garments, I'm just here to tell you, man, there's nothing better than a good Hawaiian shirt.
Absolutely, especially for guys our age with the beards.
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirts, and it's getting into this bright thing in the sky. I've got a bunch of Hawaiian shirts, a number of them with little ravens embroidered on them. They sell them at the Gunsight Pro Shop.
All right. Well, we are past time, man. It's time for me to ask you what's coming up at the Firearms Academy of Saddle. And is there any, and by the way, I hope you noticed I was wearing.
I noticed the hat. I wanted to thank you for that.
What is coming up there?
We have guest instructors coming. Of course, we have Masada Yub coming in July. Sound effect. Thank you. For Mag 40. We have Dark Angel Medical coming. We have John Farnham of Defense Tactics International, the warrior monk himself. God, what a philosopher and a great instructor, doing a tactical rifle class. I think it's the last weekend in May. To check all that stuff out and our regular stuff, occasionally we'll even offer entry-level classes during the week if your schedule's a little unusual. FirearmsAcademy.com.
Very cool. I would like to, on my end, say that wraps up the Monday through Friday version of the broadcast. Please do join us tomorrow, Saturday at noon Central Time for the weekend edition of The Bullet tomorrow. And I'm pulling my calendar up so I don't screw this up. Tomorrow we have Greg Hopkins returning. Mike Piwowarski and Rob Morse will be your commentators. We'll discuss all the week's news. And I would bet you Greg's book, A Time to Kill, is going to be mentioned on the show tomorrow. That's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for contributing. And we will see you